Let's talk about Welcome to Derry episode 2, some theories and thoughts of where the series is going. I'm going to have a full theory video about where I think the season's going to go. That's going to come out on Thursday right before episode 2, because if you don't know, episode 2 will actually be coming out on Halloween Day. A little bit early. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I already did a breakdown talking about the episode last night and my thoughts on it. I'll give you a brief rundown right here. I thought the episode was cool. I thought it would be a little bit more exciting. There were some parts where I thought it was dragging a bit, and I'm just not a fan of the CGI. Andy Muschietti does rely on it too much, in my opinion, and it kind of takes you out of it, especially that CGI baby. I still don't know where I feel with that CGI baby. Nonetheless, let's get into episode 2 and where exactly could we be heading. So don't forget to subscribe. Let's get into it. So episode 2 probably is going to take place right after the events of the previous episode. At the end of the last episode, we saw 4 kids ultimately get taken by Pennywise, which was more than I was expecting. Of course, Maddie was the first one to go because that nuclear family that took him was actually Pennywise in disguise, and I'm curious to see how many of those disguises were actually Pennywise and how he made all of this happen. Very elaborate job right there. But we also saw 3 more kids, 3 that I did not expect to go, and that's going to be Teddy, Phil, and Susie. Teddy and Phil, of course, were best friends, and they felt guilty over what happened to Maddie because they always felt that maybe they could have done a little bit more to be his friend. Maddie, of course, was a sort of outcast, and he really didn't have much friends besides what he would have considered maybe Lily, Teddy, and Phil. And they ultimately just feel the guilt. They felt that they could have done more for this kid, and now he's gone, he's missing. That is until Lily heard him in the bathtub. And I think Lily is going to be an integral part of the story now, more than I believed she was going to be when I was watching this episode, especially towards the end. Because what Lily saw was Susie and also Phil and Teddy be killed by Pennywise as the baby demonic form that he has taken now. And now Lily is going to have to take all of this baggage she has now with Ronnie, who was also there in the theater, and try to figure out what's next. And nobody's going to believe this. Who is going to believe that a giant demonic baby came out of the screen? So I think this is going to really push Lily more to a breaking point. She is already there. The death of her father at the pickle factory was, of course, a huge thing that she's still reeling from. We heard it in this episode. She hasn't been able to really comprehend that her father is gone, and it's been affecting her a lot, especially at school. Her one friend there doesn't seem to be really her friend at the moment to her, because she kind of cares more about the appearance towards others and all of that, and Lily is sort of being more recluse because of that. However, Ronnie seems to be somebody who could potentially step up to be there for Lily, as they both have now suffered through this traumatic event. Ronnie, of course, knew Maddie. He would always sneak into her father's theater, and she was the last one that saw him that night before the nuclear family ultimately took him and killed him. So Ronnie is pretty much desperate to find the answers of what exactly happened to Maddie now. And I think that's where we're going to see episodes 2 is going to start off. Ronnie and Lily figure out what's next. I think that Major Hanlon's son, of course, is going to join them, as we've seen in the trailer, as well as this other kid here, and I think that's going to lead them down the sewers at some point. Major Hanlon's storyline is interesting as well, because who are these masked men that want to know the secrets of the aircrafts? Is it a rogue nation that is trying to get to the US beforehand, or is it somebody else? I have a theory that it could be those racists that were at the airbase, and they're trying to get Major Hanlon to leak secrets in order to be like, hey, see, he's a leaker, you don't trust him, because they seem to have pretty bad blood towards the Major just because he's black. So I think that that could possibly be an explanation of who these masked men are. The other thing too is they could be potentially looking for what the US Air Force here is really after, because in the Weeks Ahead trailer we saw that the Major and all of them are on this mission to uncover something here in Derry, and they talk about it briefly in the trailer. So could they potentially be looking for something for it? We do see in the trailer as well that it, of course, came from the cosmics and crash landed here in Derry. Now each season of Welcome to Derry is going to go back in time a little bit more. So this one's taking place in the 60s, and I believe the next one is going to take place in the 40s or 30s, and basically go all the way back to the 1800s when it's potentially crash landed here on Derry. And that's going to be interesting to see how they're going to really evolve the story, and I do hope they're able to tell the story. I haven't seen the numbers for the first episode, if they were good or not. That's going to be a lot of what determines if we get the full-fledged out story. So I think that the Major's son is going to find out more about it and its origins from his father, and that's potentially what is causing a lot of the evil we see here in Derry is, of course, Pennywise. So this next episode, I think, is going to help to establish those kids, Major's kid and maybe focus a bit more on Major, because I think this episode didn't really focus a lot on Major as it should. I think the next episode is going to be more about his story and all of that. As we know, of course, Major is a part of Mike's family who we're going to see in chapter 1, and I think they want to establish that a bit more of how Mike and his family are so integral to chapter 1 and 2. So I'm excited to see that story evolve. So here are my final thoughts on episode 2. I think Lily and Ronnie are going to try and tell somebody about this. No one's going to believe them. I'm curious, however, how they're going to spin what happened to these kids at the theater. All I can think is that they are just going to be missing kids. Their body parts and all of that, of course, probably won't be found, and they're just going to assume that they are missing, just like Maddie, and only Ronnie and Lily will know the truth. I'm curious how the other kids get involved with Lily and Ronnie to believe them, because we do see that they are eventually going to have a pretty good group of kids that are going to be following them to try and find them. So it's going to take a lot to convince these kids, maybe just like how Teddy was finally convinced when that lampshade came to life. So that's exactly where I think we're headed to. So next episode, I think, is going to set up Major and his family as well as his kid, how he eventually comes to Derry, all the racism they're going to endure, as we see in the trailer as well, with Taylour Paige, who is playing the wife of Major. And I think it's going to showcase just how corrupt Derry is on its own, even without Pennywise. And then you add that to stoke the flames, it gets even worse, I think. So I'm excited to see where we go with the series. I'll have a full breakdown and theory video about the series as a whole, especially with the whole turtle thing. Are we finally going to see Madeleine in combat with it, as many people have been hoping to see for a long time? Possibly, because I think the turtle allegories and symbolism has been really spoon-fed in this first episode, and I'm very curious about Andy Muschietti throwing in that Flash comic book. I think that was a nod to everybody right there. If you caught it, you caught it. Excited for the next episode. Like I said, it comes out on Halloween Day. Cannot wait to get into it and see where the story goes from here. But like I said, very shocked that Teddy, Phil, and Susie are already dead. That honestly threw me for a loop. It just goes to show you don't know where the story is going. Now that I saw the trailer that they released, I really do see that Teddy and Phil and Susie aren't really much in the trailer. It's these other kids, including Major's son, and this other kid, I don't know who he is, and also Lily's friend, who are more in the trailer than they are. So that's probably going to be the new Losers Club, and they're probably going to try and go forth and figure out what's going on with the missing kids and who exactly is Pennywise. We will see Pennywise in the series. However, they did say it's going to be later down the road. I'm assuming he won't make a full-fledged appearance until episode 4 or 5. This is an 8-episode series, with the final episode coming out in December. Hopefully by Thanksgiving we get our first appearance of Pennywise, but I think they're gonna stretch it out a bit until they can really make it impactful. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I don't think Pennywise comes out in episode 2. I think it's gonna be heavily about Major and his family coming to Derry, getting adjusted, seeing all the racism that's going on, and just how fucked up this town really is, and Lily and Ronnie trying to plead to people to help them and tell the story. Nobody believes them. I think Lily gets institutionalized, it looks, in the little weeks ahead trailer that we saw. Maybe she just has enough and finally crashes out. I don't know. We'll see what happens. You let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Hit the subscribe and notification bell. We are on the road to 50,000 subscribers. That's going to be our goal by the time this season wraps. 50,000 subscribers by December 14th. Let's do it. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.